Hi everyone, I'm Cheryl Butler, and you're listening to the Mighty Mommy's Quick and Dirty Tips podcast, which will help make your life as a parent a little bit easier and a lot more fun. Welcome! Today's episode is number 501, 5 positive ways to support your child who is never included, because at one time or another, our kids will not get invited to the birthday party of the year, and we need to equip them with an emotional skill set to overcome the hurt. Parenting certainly has many moments of unwavering glory. First smile, words, steps, and then all the marvelous milestones and everyday wonders experienced once our child begins learning and growing throughout their school career. While we relish the time our daughter hit her first home run in softball, and we're on cloud 9 with her for the rest of the day, when she strikes out with the bases loaded and her team loses the championship game, we also know what it feels like to wallow with her in those temporary moments of grief. It can often feel like the end of the world is near, but thankfully, we get our child through those crushing blows as well. Once our kids are in school, they become influenced by a much broader range of figures. Their teachers, coaches, parents of their friends, and of course, their peers, as well as things like social media platforms, video games, and all the enticing advertisements that envelop them on a daily basis. A child's need to feel accepted and their desire to simply fit in starts as early as elementary school. And as middle school enters the picture, it becomes even more important, particularly for girls, to find their social niche and belong inside their peer group. In The Need to Fit In, Catherine Erberg, Ph.D., professor of psychology at Wayne State University, explains that the preoccupation with social status begins to peak from around age 12 until high school, a time of many physical, social, and school-related changes. How you're doing compared to others becomes very important, Erberg points out. Belonging to a popular group gives you some reassurance that you're okay. My youngest child is soon turning 13. She's always had a healthy handful of friends, participates regularly in theater club and on both school and recreational team sports, and overall, she enjoys school. While that may seem like a great combination for a 7th grader, she would tell you otherwise. Why? Because 9 out of 10 times, she's not included in group invites with her peers. Yes, she does have a few very solid friendships that are considered her besties. But when there's a party for one of the more popular girls in her grade, or a group is going to a concert or a local hangout, she's one of the few that's not invited. It's not easy. Frankly, it just plain stinks to watch one of your children hurting because they're not accepted by the group at large. Many emotions will be felt by both your child and you during these painful moments of being left out. But if you focus on some positive strategies, your child will soon be feeling empowered and on top of her game in no time. 5 positive strategies to help your child who's left out. 1. Acknowledge and embrace the disappointment. 2. Parents and popularity. 3. Don't allow shame in. 4. Help them find a coping mechanism. And 5. Strengthen other friendships. Here is each tip in more detail. 1. Acknowledge and embrace the disappointment. Too often, when our child suffers any type of emotional setback, especially rejection, we want to kiss it and make it all better, as quickly as possible. That's fine when they fall and scrape their knee, but when they experience a painful moment, such as not having someone to eat lunch with at school, or seem to be stuck at home every Friday night when the rest of the class is heading out to the movies or the mall, it's okay to sit with them and just feel through the situation. I was personally crushed last week when I dropped my daughter off for her very first junior high dance. She was so excited that week while we shopped for just the right dress, discussed all the accessories that she'd pull it all together with, and she knew exactly how she'd wear her hair. It seemed as though the evening would be near perfect. And then came the drop-off, and with that, the tears. Hours before we left for the dance, she learned that another of the girls in her grade was having a sleepover. The kicker was that 90% of her real good friends were invited, but she wasn't. That really put a damper on her initial pre-dance excitement for both of us. She finally stopped crying and managed to crack a smile and headed into the dance. 2 hours later, I picked up a much happier child who had a total blast at her first dance. But as we drove off, she saw many of her friends piling into the cars headed to the sleepover. As much as I felt that that was a cruel moment for her to endure, I didn't feel the need to sugarcoat it. Instead, I addressed it. "Annie, how are you feeling right now, knowing that you're not going to that party?" That opened up the waterworks once again, but this time it brought relief. She was able to acknowledge that she was hurting instead of hiding it. That, however, opened the conversation to talk about the positives of the dance. A couple of boys did ask her to dance. She did get to hang out with her best friends, and she got lots of compliments on her dress. We stopped for ice cream on the way home, and there were a couple of other kids there that were not going to the sleepover, so we all sat together. It didn't lessen the hurt that she felt by not being included, but she learned that she could still have fun and that it truly wasn't the end of the world. 2. Parents and popularity. I've been dealing with my 8 kids' disappointments for 25 years now. For the most part, these uncomfortable moments are just part of life and growing up. But there are also times when we as parents play a role in unknowingly influencing our kids' popularity. Dr. Mitch Prinstein, a clinical child psychologist whose focus is on the psychology of popularity, and he's also the author of Popular, says that parents do influence their child's popularity based on how they grew up as teens. In an article on BusinessInsider.com, Dr. Prinstein focuses on 2 types of popularity: social reputation, which is status, and social preference, which is likability. He explains that although status, which is who the cool kids are, is more noticeable, likability, those who can build significant relationships with others, is far more important and meaningful as the child grows into a young adult. He writes, "Their own experience with popularity dictates what they teach their children about social interactions." Now I grew up as a happy teenager and I enjoyed a very active school life. His theory is that parents who enjoyed a fun childhood with memories of happiness overall will tend to have more popular children, which for the most part with my 8 kids has proven true. He also explains those who remember their childhoods marked by hostility tend to have unpopular children, and those who remember their childhoods marked by loneliness or anxiety tend to be of average popularity or higher. Prinstein advises parents to teach their kids the difference between status and likability. Likability can allow them to be happier and more resilient as children and as adults. I reminded my daughter that she may not have been invited to this particular sleepover, but she did have several close friends in her corner to hang out with. She definitely did find some comfort in this and chatted about looking out for other kids who don't always get included. Number 3, don't allow shame in. One of the first feelings my daughter shared with me when she found that she wasn't invited to the sleepover was that she felt shame. As we talked more about it, she admitted that maybe the other girls thought there was something different about her, or maybe she wasn't as smart as they were. In my heart, I didn't believe that this was the case, but it did cause me to question some things to myself, like, are my daughter's interactions with others age appropriate? Is there something I can do to help her be more acceptable with her peer group? Or you may just have to be honest that your child is not always going to be liked by everyone, particularly if cliques are formed. So we have to help them find kids that they do have fun with and cultivate those relationships. Turns out the majority of the girls invited to the sleepover after the dance had a common thread. All their moms were very good friends. Most of the moms got together during the dance for a glass of wine. I wasn't asked to go out during the dance, so apparently I wasn't included either. Even as adults, We face the same type of scenarios. I didn't hurt like my daughter did when I learned that most of the moms were connecting that night, but it certainly gave me a better appreciation for how she was feeling. We both talked about our feelings, and we eventually had some hearty laughs about what went on at the dance while she was there having fun, not what was happening after the dance at the sleepover that she didn't attend. Number 4, help find a coping mechanism. When any of us are faced with difficult situations, one of the best practices to get back on track is to self-soothe with something that can change our mindset and just make us relax and feel better. What you need is a coping mechanism, a method to managing the stressors in your life. I first became familiar with coping mechanisms when I was struggling with infertility. Sometimes, just out of the blue, I'd see a new baby or a commercial on TV touting family life, and I'd just fall apart. When tough emotional times would hit, I'd rely on some techniques that would usually pull me right out of the dumps. I loved to journal, so I'd list 10 things I was grateful for, and then I'd write 10 things that I was looking forward to experiencing in the future. For instance, cuddling a new baby or teaching my child to tie his shoes. I also found that taking a brisk walk after work would lift my spirits. Kids can also become familiar with effective coping mechanisms to help them out during these times of feeling like they aren't as popular as their peers. Some suggestions are: 1. Engage in positive self-talk. So instead of saying something like, "I must be a loser, I can't even get invited to one sleepover," say, "It's okay that I'm not going this time. I still have friends I like to hang out with, and there will be a next time." 2. Take deep breaths. Taking long, slow, deep breaths helps to relax our bodies. When we relax, it's easier to focus on the situation in a different light. 3. Find a favorite activity to distract. If your child enjoys drawing, music, or physical activity such as skateboarding or biking, encourage her to do something she excels at, and that can keep her focused on things that make her feel good rather than feeling bad not being included. And number 5, strengthen other friendships. It can be heartbreaking to watch your child struggle to fit in, but if he has 1 or 2 friends he can still connect with, that's something important to build on. In my episode, 5 Ways to Support an Unpopular Child, tip number 4 emphasizes the importance of helping your child foster individual friendships rather than trying to be popular. 2 of my 8 children were not invited or included in many social situations through both junior and high school. Part of this was due to their shy personalities, and when they were included, they much preferred just hanging out with their closest friends. More important than being invited to every party that comes down the pike is to have 1 or 2 buddies that you can truly enjoy being with. When the focus is on friendship and not popularity, your child will still thrive and can enjoy a fulfilling social life. If you have friends and family that would enjoy listening as well, I'd love it if you'd share the link to this podcast and refer them to the website, which is www.quickanddirtytips.com/mighty-mommy. Here you'll find hundreds of archived episodes covering a wide variety of parenting and family-related topics. How have you helped your child cope when she isn't included? Please share your thoughts in the comments section at quickanddirtytips.com/mighty-mommy, or you can post your ideas on the Mighty Mommy Facebook page. As always, thanks so much for listening. Wishing you many moments of love and learning moments with your kids. As always, thanks so much for listening. Wishing you many moments of love and joy with your kids. Until next time, happy parenting.